This is Whiskey Whereabouts. I'm Tim, and today we're picking on Macallan again. It's another one of my cheaper than videos. Today we're talking about Macallan 18-year, a very overpriced bottle of whiskey. I have 5 alternatives, all cheaper than Macallan. Some you may see coming, some not so obvious. We're gonna get into it right now. My whiskey journey has taken me to Scotland and back. I've explored whiskey education, tastings, and distilleries from Islay to Speyside. And now my journey continues here, with you, on Whiskey Whereabouts. If you haven't seen my video talking about bottles cheaper than Macallan 12-year, I'll put a link up here so you can check it out. But as I said in that video, we pick on Macallan because it's so overpriced, not necessarily because it's bad. It's not bad, it's just not really well presented, and it really doesn't justify the price tag. So when we talk about Macallan 18-year, a bottle that is very easy to find, but has reached a price point in excess in most places $375. There's no justification for that price. And about that price, when I do these videos, I have to point out that the price of whiskey varies wildly from place to place, and I try to get a pretty good handle on the prices when I do these lists, but what I do is I find the prices for the alternative bottles from the same markets, so it's all relative. So even if these numbers don't match, I try to do it so that the alternatives are still under that price threshold. So regarding the Macallan 18, what do I get for that enormous price tag? Well, first off, there was more than one Macallan 18. I'm talking about the Macallan 18 Double Cask. The vatting is made up of whiskey aged in sherry seasoned American and European oak casks. It's the one in the dark blue box, not the sherry oak, which is even more expensive. It's about $75, almost more. You're looking at $450 and up. I'm talking about the Double Cask Macallan 18. And for that pretty hefty price tag, I'm getting 43% ABV, chill filtered whiskey, not so great. No color added, Macallan doesn't add color, good job Macallan, but that's not a very good presentation for whiskey at this price point. So real quick, let's talk about an honorable mention. Before I get into the top 5, this honorable mention is here not because it's a direct overlap with the flavor profile of the Macallan 18, or that it's the greatest sort of whiskey in the world at this value, but because it is readily available. Macallan 18 is everywhere. And if you go into a shop and that's one of the nicest bottles and you're looking to make a big impression, make a splash with a bottle, there's another bottle that you're usually going to also see in the sort of glass case where the fancy bottles are kept. It's from Glenmorangie and it's called the Signet. Now, this is a non-age statement whiskey, so the rumors say that the whiskey in there has some age on it, that it's over 15 years, but we don't know that. There is no age statement. It's also color added, artificial color. There is non-chill filtration, so that's pretty good. So not a spectacular presentation. Cask configuration is also much different than Macallan. It is ex-sherry, yes, but it's also ex-bourbon and new charred oak. It's going to be a totally new sort of element, and it has a special malt that brings a sort of coffee mocha element. So why am I talking about this whiskey at all then? Because it only costs $250. If we're going to be chasing sort of well-known bottles with really, really big ticket price tags and not ideal presentations, at least this one's going to save you $100. So let's get into the list proper now and talk about an actual Macallan 18 alternative, and it's Glenallachie 18. And it's Glenallachie, so it's presented properly. 46%, there's no color added, non-chill filtered, and it has a lot of sherry influence. It has Oloroso, it has PX cask, and it has virgin oak cask to sort of give it some dimension versus the straight sort of sherry matured whiskey. I hear you. Billy Walker still hasn't gotten his whiskey out. He's still juggling the casks from the warehouse, and the 15's so good, and do I need to go to the 18 and pay that extra price? What we're talking about is alternatives to Macallan 18. And objectively, the Glenallachie 18 is better presented. It's a better experience at $200 or so a bottle. It's nearly half the price of the Macallan 18. This is a no-brainer. I had this whiskey on Christmas evening, before Christmas dinner this year. Perfect whiskey for that time of year with the sort of sherry and the Christmas sort of spice elements. No complaints, and at half the price or nearly half the price, a really strong alternative. Next on the list, the price tag's going up. So is the age statement. It's a little bit sort of outside the box here. It's not a straight sort of sherry kind of whiskey alternative to the Macallan 18. And this time, we're going with the Altmore 21 year. Now this is a whiskey that's going to cost $300. Maybe you get it for a little bit less. It's still coming in less than that Macallan 18 year. For this price, I'm getting 46% ABV whiskey, no color added, non-chill filtered, all good presentation, but we're getting a lighter whiskey. These are refill sherry casks. When I think of Altmore, think of space, I think of a sort of apple sort of notes. That's still coming through. It's not going to be sort of overshadowed with the sherry. Some of the sherry elements are there. The reason I sort of put this in here, in addition to be better value than the Macallan 18, is that the thing you may be responding to if you like Macallan 18 is that it is sort of lighter, very approachable. Some would describe it as elegant, a whiskey that is not going to overpower you. There's another whiskey that is elegant as well, lighter presentation. It's not going to be overpowering. It's a better value than the Macallan 18. It may not be one for one, not as much of the stronger sort of sherry kind of seasoned cask influence that you're getting from the Macallan 18, but a very worthy alternative for an even cheaper price. Number 3, and this one is the obvious choice. It's here. You knew it would be. It's a Tamdhu 18, and Tamdhu has really kind of taken over this space as the sort of sherry Speyside whiskey distillery, offering a much better presentation than Macallan, this time with a lot of the overlap over what you're expecting, what you're getting from that sherry Macallan 18. So we're gonna have a 46.8% ABV here. We're gonna have a very similar cask configuration to the Macallan. We're gonna have Oloroso, sherry, seasoned American and European oak. A lot of overlap here with the flavor profile. Getting a lot of the sherry spices, that sort of toffee note that I expect from the Macallan. That's definitely gonna be here. A little bit more chocolatey maybe, but a very strong alternative, leveling up the presentation, leveling up to a respectable ABV with a lot of overlap to the approach of how this whiskey was conceived and presented. Tamdhu 18 is sort of the layup on a list like this for an alternative to the Macallan 18. So where does that leave us for the next 2 bottles? Well, at number 2, I'm going to go to what might be the best value proposition for what you're getting on this entire list, and it is a Knock 24 year. This is a tremendous value whiskey when you look at what you are getting for less than $300. So what we're getting is a 46% whiskey. It's non-chill filtered. It is matured in ex-sherry and ex-bourbon. So you're getting a little less of that sherry influence and what you're going to get is some different notes, some different elements, a new sort of dimension. This is sort of a level up in terms of the age statement, in terms of the presentation, and particular to some additional flavor elements we're going to get in addition to those sort of obvious, sort of expected, welcome, but expected sherry notes that we're going to get from the Macallan. And the idea that you could go to the whiskey shop with enough money to buy Macallan 18 and come home with a Knock 24 and a bottle of Bunnahabhain 12 year is insane. So where does that leave us for number 1? Well, I can't offer you an older whiskey than 24 years. And what I'm going to do instead is return to a pretty obvious distillery. It's a distillery that we often point to as the sort of alternative to Macallan when we have these types of discussions about Macallan and value and alternatives. And it is GlenDronach, but it's not GlenDronach 18 year because Macallan 18 year is so overpriced that instead I could buy this bottle. GlenDronach 21 year, the Parliament. And the idea that you could buy this bottle for less than you would pay for Macallan 18 is madness. This is a 48% ABV whiskey. It's natural colored, no color added. Now you know what I'm going to say next. It's GlenDronach, so it doesn't say non-chill filtered on the bottle anymore. It's a whole thing. We're just going to assume it is chill filtered until corrected otherwise. But it is otherwise a presentation that is head and shoulders above the Macallan 18 year. It's fully sherry matured, Oloroso and PX. You're getting that rich sort of Pedro Jimenez sort of influence. You can see that in the sort of natural color. But if the presentation of this bottle is head and shoulders above Macallan 18, the experience of the whiskey in this bottle is a multi-story building's height above, the Macallan 18. This is a very rich, really, really sort of impressive for this type of whiskey bottle. It has all those sort of sherry notes. It's really, really sort of luxurious. It has all of the kind of real chocolate notes, there's berry elements, all sorts of dimension to it. It's a pretty fantastic bottle. It's coming to the channel soon. I sort of acquired this bottle and have been looking for an excuse to roll it out, and I think I'm just gonna do it. I can't wait to sort of get into it and do it. So coming soon to the channel. And I hope you'll be around to check that video out. If you found this video helpful, you enjoyed it, you can subscribe by pressing this big button that's gonna pop up over here. You won't miss any of the future videos coming, and I'll see you on the next one.